Hello everyone, I am back again this week with another video journal for you. So my first takeaway from this week, of course, is about blocking. And I have never actually, directed a production before. I've said that in previous videos. And so I've had some nerves about blocking. And these chapters this week were really, really good about the emphasis on movement and focus and considering the whole actor when they're on stage in character. So my nerves about blocking come from the fact that, of course, I have a stage management background. So I'm used to hearing the blocking come from the director, translate it to the actors, and then writing down what they're saying. So that's, that's a privilege to have, observed that and done that. But also it's like those choices weren't my creative choices. And then I've also been in the room with certain directors that don't actually give the actors a creative choice in what they're doing. They don't usually just let the actor go, and then those choices actually end up on stage. They let the actor go, then they stop and they pick apart different things, add in their creative choices, and then you see the actor actually translate what the director wanted them to do on stage. So that's my experiences with blocking. Of course, I have done some smaller acting things in children's theater. So, and that blocking is once again very different from doing a show like A Raisin in the Sun or, something like Jane Austen, Sense and Sensibility, which is a show that I've worked on multiple times. So I've done some children's theater acting, and that blocking is once again not hard, and it's more whimsical and also very creative because you're acting for younger children, not exactly high school students. So that's my experiences with blocking. And so I feel like my nerves come from the fact that I'm used to seeing somebody else either tell me what to do and I don't make the creative choices, or tell other people what to do and then not considering their creative choices. So I definitely want to make a space for my students where I consider their creative choices and how it will work well with what I want to be translated on stage. So as I've been reading my copy of A Raisin in the Sun over and over again and making different notes, I'm just considering what questions can I ask my students in certain moments to where they'll make a choice for themselves, and then I can see that choice actually come to life on stage without me having to be like, hey, this doesn't really work, do it this way. I want their choices to actually end up on stage. Another big thing that stood out to me was off-book dates. So my experience with off-book dates was basically in college. By the time that the actors were supposed to be off-book, they had really been working with the material for a very long time, like the summer before or the semester before, because that's how, and during undergrad, that's how our shows were cast. They were cast in the summertime, or the year before, so performers had the entire summer to work on their music and their lines, and then or like the semester before. So sometimes they had more time, and other times they had shorter weeks. The thing that I remember the most, though, during my rehearsal process was writing line notes as a stage manager and an assistant stage manager. So what we would do is our director would dedicate certain characters to us, and so when they called line, we would take a line note and actually write down the line that they called for. And then at the end of rehearsals, some of them would have large stacks of line notes because they needed to work more, or help work better towards memorizing. And others, some people had it down packed. So I think memorization is something that comes easy to certain actresses, and for others, it's not that simple. They actually have to, do a lot of different things to work at memorizing. So in my process, when I start rehearsals with my students next week, I will definitely be implementing line notes at our off-book date. And I have also set our off-book date for the 5th week of rehearsals. So, and by the fifth week, I mean that Monday through Friday period that school usually is in. So, my students have 5 weeks to actively work on rehearsals, and then the last 3 weeks they will be off book. And then that final week, that 9th week, is the show's production. So we won't be in rehearsals for a super long time. High school productions are used to having longer rehearsal processes, and this will be our first time. So I will be implementing line notes into my rehearsal process when we get to our off-book date. Lastly, I'd like to wrap up this video with some questions that I have for you all. What do you do when the student's creative choice is not what your directorial vision is. So I know I just said that I wanted to make sure that I implement creative choices into my rehearsal process, because I'm used to seeing directors be like, hey, do it this way because I know it better than you and I have more experience with you, so do it how I said to do it. And I don't want to be that person. I still want to provide my students with the discipline that theater offers, like, you know, meeting your deadlines and taking notes and coming back the next day ready to go. Even if you don't have such a good rehearsal, you know, how can you be better the next day? And I also want them to feel like they have a voice, because one of the major takeaways that I have from Bowman's chapter 5 is that you need to, chapters 4 and 5, is that you need to create a safe space for students where they want to come back to that space. And once they realize that theater is the place that they belong, then, you know, it becomes a staple in their life. And even if they do something different, they may always come back to theater or want to be involved in theater in some way. Or some of them will make the life choices to actually go on and be a full thespian and be a performer or be somebody that's involved in tech or stage management or become a director themselves. So I don't want my students to feel silent. So what do you do to translate that discipline while also giving them a creative choice? How do you approach that? And finally, how do y'all use parents? Because I work at a Title I school, so sometimes we have situations where you can't actually get in touch with the student's parents, and I don't want to deter a student from being a part of the rehearsal process if their parent doesn't understand, like, that I will need them to be involved as well in some way, shape, or form. What do you have your parents specifically do to be a part of your process? What do you do when they don't want to be a part of the process? Do you require that a student that's been casted have their parent be a volunteer? Like, what do you all do for that? How do you all involve your parents? Have a great week. Thanks for listening.